right, thank you everyone for coming. It is 7:02. Welcome to the Jamaica Selectboard regular meeting of Monday, July 24th. And the first order of business is that I will call for any late additions. I have one, but before I give mine, anyone else have any late additions? Okay. I'm going to discuss later when we're talking generally about FEMA, which is in about 5 minutes, the possibility of requesting from the state another mark, which is, for those of you guys who know, that was the cross-agency, what do I want to call it? Multi-agency, well, yeah, I could just use MARC, which is the multi-agency response center. But it's a resource, I guess it's a pop-up resource for people who have suffered from flood damage. And there was, not a huge appearance from Jamaica, and I know there are more people who can use the resources that were available. So if it's available for another couple of weeks, and I'm gonna see if we can't just get one right here in town. Yeah.
Did you get the call this afternoon about that? You sound like you did it. They called me asking where it would be a good place in Jamaica to put that up. I referred them to you.
Okay. Probably, I was speaking with our FEMA rep, and it came up in the context of my conversation with our FEMA rep.
Well, this is later sometime this afternoon.
Okay.
And he said he needed about 12 tables. First of all, the very first, I don't know what we do second in school, but I said you need to talk to Jessica.
Okay. All right. Thanks. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the July 17th special meeting of the select board 1 week ago today. I move to approve them. Second. Any comments, questions, discussion? Okay, with that, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you so much. So the next is a general update on storm damage in FEMA. So I'll kind of add as a sub bullet. I'll just like to make a motion that we request from the state to set up MARC here in Jamaica for a day. It would be a day-long thing. If it has to be indoors, it can be here, is what I would propose. If it can be out of doors, I would ask Tara and Forrest if they'd be willing to have it out in front of the store. It could also be in front of your house, our building, somewhere right in the village, in the center of the village. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Yeah.
Discussion?
Yes.
Just thinking it's indoor space, I think the fire department would have a bigger conference room than.
Oh, the fire department. I didn't look at you with your big
so-
head.
They're talking about 12 tables
Right.
to set up. We don't have 12 tables over here.
Right.
Well, we could pull the trucks out, put it in the bay.
Put it in the
I
bag.
didn't want to suggest that to you.
Right.
Because that's complicated. But I
Perfect.
did tell them to get back with Jessica.
Yeah, but that would be.
Love that.
Even our conference room is bigger than this room. So.
Yes, it is.
The town hall has lots of tables.
The town hall as well was the
That
other
would be
one.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
So
say either one of those indoor locations.
Right.
Outside's generally nice, but then it kind of interrupts with,
you never know with the weather,
Yeah.
and you don't really want a lot of people stopping in the center of town, but
if they got tables
But
set
maybe
up on
if
the
we had-
street and everything,
right.
it impedes with this.
we could even have a little table in the street saying, by the way, there's a mark at the town hall or whatever, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
But
So
all
town
four,
hall or
yeah,
fire department.
If they can
Okay.
come down, it's awesome, or it's multiple days.
Right. Right, but there was an option potentially for a one-dayer.
No, but I mean, there's a lot of people that are involved, so it's like when I said they, it's the Red Cross, it's FEMA,
Right.
there's a lot of
Multi-agency.
days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are doing more. They're like responding now to requests. So any other discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. And I'll just add Sarah to my res that it'll be either at the town hall or the fire department, whatever works best. All right, so do we want to start with kind of the roads update, Greg? What do you think?
We can.
For the next order of business is an update, obviously what we were just talking about a little bit on FEMA and storm damage.
And I'll probably just turn it over to Keith too. I know one of the big things that's kind of on our agenda is the bridges. I can speak to that a little bit, and then I'll turn over to more detailed road stuff. But Pikes Falls Road, most people probably know already, is back open. I mean, it's still very tenuous going up through the road, so it's not full-on traffic either, even though you can still get through there. The Depot Street Bridge, we've had several engineers look at it, and it's kind of boiled down. I mean, there is some work that needs to be done underneath to kind of armor the abutment, but the thought is now is that we can just do the work on the top and kind of shore up that one washout kind of on the state park side and get the bridge back open. And I could have mentioned, I just kind of, a bunch of people kind of came at me today on that. Now we've had the engineers and say, okay, we don't really need to get the underside done. That's more of a protective thing going forward, that the bridge is stable and we just can kind of fix the approach. The one on Goodyville is going to take some time. I mean, I don't want to let the bad news out, so to speak, for those people that are down there. The wing wall has pretty much collapsed. I mean, it's fallen over. The company that built the bridge has come in and looked at it and said that they will probably have to demolish and rebuild the wing wall because the footings are all underscored. And it's a big piece of concrete to be able to lift it up and do the work underneath it. So that's where we're at right now. We're still going to go out to bid on that one because that's pretty substantial.
Right, and we have to.
We have to,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you want to jump in then on the rest of the roads.
Did you cover Depot?
We did cover.
Oh, yeah, you did, yeah.
Yeah, so also
Right.
Mike met today. I mean, maybe I'll go to Mike before to Keith, but Mike met with Scott Jensen today, who's the River Corridors, I don't know exactly his title, but in charge of letting us get in the river, so to speak, to do work. And also met with Wes Amida down on Depot Street as far as the work there to do the armament of underneath the bridge and then working back up and potentially, getting those repairs done. I'm guessing you talked about that. And then also getting into the river, smoothing out the channel basically, with the potential of removing some material. We don't want to form a new channel. We want to defer the river against the full channel. And with the hopes of pulling the brunt of the force of the river away from Water Street. So I don't know if you want to add more to that, but.
Well, we did have Scott Jensen with A&R. He's a river engineer for our district, and he was, he did walk around all the different areas in town and did offer some advice. He did basically give the road department a verbal permit for any work to be done here. If we do go through procurement, he will do a hydrologic study for that project and kind of help spearhead the initiative if we need to go through the engineering. But we did look at Smith Road, old Route 8, Pikes Falls Road. We didn't go up Goodyville,
You were on Depot Street and you went to the
Depot Street. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. Under the abutment needs some shoring up, but it sounds like our crew here in town
Oh, no kidding.
can fix it, I think.
No pressure, Keith.
You talking about Ballantine Brook? Is that?
The
Yes.
Fall Mountain Brook down at
Yes.
the Depot Street Bridge,
Yeah.
the concrete bridge.
Yeah, they will have to arm it underneath the bridge first in order to get that void that fell out to stay, but that's why it fell out, the armor washed away.
Right, and that's why I was thinking we needed to get the river work done first before we can do that.
Yeah.
So whether that can happen.
Yeah, that part's not a big deal, it's just getting under the bridge done and in the river. Getting that big mound moved around.
Yeah, and we do have a permit for that now too. So, and Wes has been he's specializing in that, so to speak. He's been in there before.
And he was in that meeting with us this morning, so he was there. He said he could work on that section by the abutment, and he could also look at kind of benching along Water Street and helping shore up that slope there as well.
Yeah, and for the record, it's Wes Amidon from Amidon Construction, who's done some work in that riverbed before too, and has the permission to get back in there again.
Correct.
So from a procurement perspective, it's in policy because Wes has a unique expertise, and he has approval from the state.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
So it still doesn't meet our procurement.
Right,
policy.
exactly, in the Excel file, those are the notes
exactly.
there,
That's
that we
always-
can show
that's-
FEMA,
In
right?
general, we kind of like, we started pumping the brakes a little bit. In
Right,
conversation
yes.
with Keith saying, wait a minute, we gotta make sure that we're doing this all right. And, I mean, we are doing it right from getting it done, but we gotta make sure we're doing it right from the
Right.
procurement aspect and also making sure that we get our reimbursements.
Right.
Yep. So I don't know, did you have more to add? I mean, they're on,
I don't have any questions for me. I mean, it's just it's so broad. I can say that probably in the next couple days, Turkey Mountain will be complete.
It looks way, way better, thank you. I was up there just a little while ago, it's great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The narrow spots are a little bit wider.
Yeah,
Howard Road is complete. Westville North is complete. And we're just moving from there. The damage, aside from Westville South, all the other damage is, a lot of it we can fix, the town crew. It's just gonna take a while, like Pikes Falls Road, the whole way up, there's little like half moons carved out of the blacktop, and it's just a matter of us going up through there and dipping out of the back of the truck and fixing it and fixing and keep going. It's just time consuming, it's not so much.
The passage to Dalewood, where the road, like it was, how is that now? Is it still the same, or?
No,
I just didn't go back.
Yeah, Dalewood is like 80%.
Okay,
We have to go back for Traeger Road, which there isn't a lot to do. But there's still a lot of work there. You have to armor the banks. Where it did dip, you're talking about,
yeah,
that's all filled in, but
okay,
it's just a gravel bank to the brook that has to be somewhat armored so it just doesn't disappear again. Yeah, there's another couple days there. Smith Road. Scott Jensen said he was gonna try and find out if we could get there's a big giant gravel bar under the bridge that caused Smith Road to wash out. He was gonna see if V-Trans will let us have that gravel bar instead of buying material. That would be just a matter of like casting it across the stream, and that's a ton of material for free.
we need a third party to do that though, right? Or no, we can do it ourselves, okay,
Just one excavator to another,
another.
and stack it up.
okay,
The armored wall on Pikes Falls, bridge number 2, I don't know the real number.
but the sharp one,
Yeah, the second bridge,
Yeah.
that's complete aside from a little bit of fill that has to go in behind the wall. And the state gave me probably 1,000 yards to put behind the wall that they collected off the side of Route 30. They hauled it
Really?
down to the barn, so we've got it there. Some more freebies.
yeah, is that's sort of happening below the radar?
Yeah, I mean, they needed a place to get rid of it, and
Right.
we can use it, so that worked out good.
Right,
We're gonna complete Goodyville tomorrow, aside from the slides that we're gonna have to armor, but the road will be complete. It'll have a finished coat of gravel, and we're gonna try and scrape it up. Coleman Hills, if it doesn't rain Wednesday, we're gonna try and come in at 4 in the morning and grade before people are using it.
the narrow steep part, or?
The whole thing.
The whole thing, okay,
I don't know what it looks like at 4 in the morning if people are using it, but at 8 in the morning, there's way too many
It's-
people to
yeah.
scrape the road.
Yeah.
Just,
no, it's a
3-ring
commuter,
surface.
it's a commuter path right now.
But we're gonna try and get that smoothed up so the chirping stops. Do you have any questions for me? Specifics?
When is GMP coming to meet with you guys? Did they come today, or?
He hasn't reached back out.
Oh, he didn't reach
was
back
gonna
out.
coordinate
Oh, he was gonna
to me,
coordinate through
And I don't
you.
even think I even mentioned to you yet. They wanna do an assessment, so to speak, what they talked about at the meeting when they were here a couple months ago, but to start walking up Lower Pikes, I don't know, literally walking, but going up Lower Pikes Falls to assess where they're gonna harden the power grid, basically, where it goes underground, where it's gonna be doing this or that.
Right.
With a set of design people, they call them, it's their design team for GMP.
Right,
But they asked, I know Brian Zeroff
right.
is going to attend, and myself, and thought it would be good to have you. I don't know exactly when it is. I mean, we can even put it off. I mean, I don't want to keep putting it off, but right now we're kind of still in the heat of battle. I'd hate to pull keys off of a road project so we can go look at
Right.
power line work that's going to be
Right.
done next year.
On the other
So,
hand, I mean, he's, you know.
they said they might start this summer
Right.
doing it.
Pikes Falls is it's still in a transition. I mean, it's so much better today than it was, but there's still a lot of work. And to the extent, I don't know, it just seems like it would be an opportune time if they would come now
Yeah,
and
they haven't gotten back to me.
they haven't gotten
Yeah.
back. All right.
But they said this
Oh,
week
wow.
sometime, so this week is still.
Oh, they did say, I
They-
thought so.
Yeah, but this week is
Right.
still young.
Still young. Still young.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
On Pikes Falls Road, Rashid was gonna be here tonight. He's not here yet, so I'll put the question to you. The questions of armoring up past Crockett's and then up a ways along where it's beginning to wash out and the road's cracking on the Pikes Falls Road, you know, where Crockett is 191. And then you've got cones that are marking off trees, but along that ridge right there, Crockett's, the pavement in front of Crockett's mailboxes.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's okay in front of mine because I've got like trees, but Rashid's question to you was whether we, the town, you guys, the town, are going to armor that stretch from above Crockett's all the way down to the bridge before it starts eroding the bridge.
I don't think so. I think we're only doing what's damaged. I mean, that's all they're gonna pay for.
Right.
They inspected,
Yeah, we went.
Scott
Steep drop
Jensen
off.
looked at it, and it's not, the land didn't break. It's just, it was probably just water under the pavement that sunk it. It's not, it doesn't appear to be like that's gonna fall in the river.
Okay.
All the roots are still intact, and it's sitting on ledge, and
Okay, I get that.
right.
it was a low spot there anyway. If you remember, as you drove up through there in your car, the car would do this.
And it went that way, I just stopped at my house.
Right. But in the winter,
Sure.
if you were coming out of Pikes Falls, everyone was on the wrong side of the road to avoid the tip. So it's been there all along. It's just
Well, it started cracking,
Cracking
and the
pavement.
postal person, they won't deliver mail to either of us because of that. But I told, when he and I talked about it, I told him, come tonight, and then, but essentially the same thing, that FEMA's only gonna pay to repair what it once was, as opposed to long-term repair, which I think he's more concerned about over the long haul, because he keeps losing pieces of himself. He's concerned that it's looking like it's going to erode behind the new bridge abutments. But I haven't been down there walking around, I'm just repeating his words to me.
it could if they don't get the stuff out of the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could.
There's a number of projects that, you know, we want to scope.
Sure.
That
Probably
are,
long-term, this is
right.
now.
that are an improvement to the infrastructure to reflect the new normal. And unfortunately, FEMA told us face to face, you know, they're not, it's what you just said, and you have experience, direct experience with it. They'll cover returning, you know, to the way, you know, basically returning to original condition. We're exploring with them, you know, the opportunity potentially, and with this, we have to with the state, upgrades that, you know, now that they've demonstrated failure over multiple storm events, if we could get funding to design some of these other projects. Even things as small as increasing the size of a culvert. If you increase the size of the culvert, it won't be covered by FEMA. And they did not give us assurance that that they would even cover what we would have been reimbursed had we gone with a smaller you know, the same size culvert. So it's tough. It's a struggle, but it doesn't mean that we're not, as a multidisciplinary group, looking at right-sizing infrastructure where we have repeated problems. Otherwise, you know, Keith will never get a night's sleep again. Seriously. But we have to find other funding for it. It's not going to be FEMA funds.
I understand.
And there is, you know, talk, Governor Scott's, you know, list of 40 fabulous towns or what have you. Even that, the guidance for that is not out yet, so we don't know, first of all, whether we would qualify as a town, and also whether the projects that we scope would fall within it. But we're in the process of structuring even the size of our projects so that they fall within the easiest source of FEMA funds. You know, there's an effort to do bite-sized projects, because then FEMA has a little bit of a faster turnaround. So, but that's, you know, the fearless team here. Any other questions from the public on updates or anyone else? Okay. Keith, is there, you know, other than support in getting the RFPs for the work that we now have to actually bid, and please let us know what else you might need.
Another person, or
Another.
we're still short on
Right.
it.
I mean, besides, yeah. Head count.
Somebody wants to come work for this wonderful town. There's an open position.
Nothing really, we're just gonna plug away at it. We still have a lot of time before winter. I mean, it's quite a bit. I mean, when did Irene happen? It was like the 1st of September, right? And we pulled it all together. It was a lot worse than this, so not really nervous. I guess the only thing I am a bit nervous about is we've got contractors on site that are ready to go. How fast will this bid process, how fast will it move? Because I'm already getting like the chirping that if I don't have work tomorrow, I gotta go. And they do. I mean, this is where you make hay. It's summertime.
Every other town has work too.
So, you know, they're gonna be headed out, and if something else comes up, I just, we're on a roll. I just don't wanna lose interest here.
Should we have a kind of an Irene style meeting where we go over all the projects and maybe do that a couple times a week, if not more, so that we can be sure we're getting bids as quickly as we can from the right people?
Yeah, certainly at least on, well, at least on a couple of roads. I mean, West Hill South, definitely.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna have to be bid.
You know, that's the one that sticks out in my head, because it is a project. It's not just a two-day fix.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put some time into it, and probably a ton of money.
We have the bridges, we know about that.
Right.
In terms of roads, West Hill South is sticking out.
Yeah,
We can talk in the morning. If another one pops up to you, just send me a text and I'll add it to the list, and we'll
Yeah.
focus on making sure we're getting
it's,
a bid.
for me at this point, it's Smith Road, Old 8, and West Hill South. Those are the ones that,
Okay.
especially West Hill South, I don't want to lose momentum here.
Yeah, and we've got a good crew from Hunter working. I think some of it too is, at least for me, and I've talked to Keith a little bit about it, is the clarity from FEMA of what's, I mean, it's pretty much we've been told right now the emergency's over, and now everything needs to be procured through our procurement policy. But I've also heard that if a project was started during the emergency and it's not done yet, that still fits under the emergency, and we can still go procure it. But when we've got Hunter, who's done 50% of the bid, 50% of the work, in all honesty, we're not gonna go bid it out to 3 people and have somebody else jump up there.
Right, and
Those-
then that's fine,
That
do you know what I'm
clarity is
saying?
where we all need to.
If we seek to others, the issue, totally hear that. I have not heard that, exception from the requirement to follow town municipal procurement policies.
And our policy does allow us to go to, I don't know what the right term is, but a vendor that specializes, and so this could be deemed that they've got
right.
knowledge of the situation, they've done a bunch of the work
Right.
already.
Which is, normally, fine, I just want to raise the specter that this is if it's the estimate that I saw, we're talking about a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't risk not
getting
getting
that.
FEMA money for that,
Right.
financially.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's where
That's a non-starter.
Yeah.
So to the extent, if we even just get 2 other bids or get 2 other refusals to bid,
Well,
then we've got the documentation. So if that's, I'd rather kind of go that route.
Or clarify if that work was started during the emergency, just to clarify, is it still a part of that?
considered still part of the same work.
The fact that it's my understanding is the fact that it's the same location does not make it all one project. The road is passable. So and FEMA is slavish. And for that kind of, if it were a small sum, I wouldn't care, but it's backbreaking for the town,
It's in
so.
like 6 digits or.
Yes, yes. So that's why I, if we can paper this relatively quickly, knowing it's a high priority, by either getting, a refusal to bid from 2 others or bids from 2 others that they don't even have, even if they're less expensive, if we don't have confidence in the bid, we don't have confidence. And we can reject a bid on that basis.
Just follow the FEMA checkpoints.
Exactly.
But to that point, what you originally said, anytime, to have a regular, I know Keith and I
Right.
talk just about daily, if not more,
Right.
and, but to have a
But
multiple conversation. about
You can have some
Mike
help,
and-
right,
Yeah.
So that you're not the one putting all the bids out, doing all the drafting, on your own.
Yeah,
That's
for
what
sure,
I was,
that part, yeah, or even kind of second person bouncing it off of saying, is this how you think we should move forward?
Right. That I hear, it's more just, in my mind, that,
Yeah,
so that you're not, rolling up you're not doing everything, you know what I mean? Like,
no, but it's been great support,
Yeah.
so it's not me doing everything, it's just having like a third head.
sure feels like it.
No, I've hardly been doing anything compared to
No, I
a
know,
lot of
yeah.
people out there in
Yeah.
the road crew and.
That's true,
Yeah.
that's true. Okay. Anything else, Keith, that you want to add to that?
Not really, unless someone has a question.
All right. So the next one is actually, and, I thought, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a question. It's not about the roads, but it is about storm damage. I had 3 people just today ask me what they should be doing. They live along brooks, and they feel like there's been damage, and they would like to get in there and do things. Can somebody let everybody out there in TV world know that, what the proper protocol is?
What do you mean by what they need to, you mean like shoring up their banks or something?
Should they call?
Scott Jensen.
They
Yeah,
should call him.
the river guy.
Yeah.
If they want to do
With the state
something,
of Vermont.
yes.
A&R.
Okay,
Yeah, because if someone does do something without permission, that's a big no-no.
right.
We always used to say, you have to ask the river guy. Scott,
So I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
Okay.
that that was.
But we could-
State website, is that how they
Yeah.
find this person?
Yeah, or they can contact here at town hall, we'll get the information from you.
Call 2
Yeah.
on the list.
we could put it on the
Yeah.
website. Links to A&R. and
Plus,
just,
that
yeah.
upcoming mark event.
Yes, that would be, yeah. And in fact, it's part of the resource there.
Right.
Although it's not like they're saying, go throw boulders on the border of your, edge of your brook, but, okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, to anybody else, I heard somebody say, but they should, if anybody's had damage to their personal property, they should contact Vermont 211 and report that, and that gets them into the reporting process through FEMA and the state and any other agency that might be out there.
That was what I was talking about.
Yeah, right.
Good, yeah. Get on the list.
Mhm.
Unless you register, you're not gonna necessarily benefit, yeah, for sure. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is a thank you. I'm gonna I'll open the floor to anybody who wants to thank anybody in particular, but I'm gonna go back in time a little bit to, at the outset, particularly when we had our evacuation. A couple of Stratton entities really just dug deep and helped out. So the Black Bear Lodge was open. We had several residents stay there. They were housed and fed, which was really gracious. The Stratton Foundation has been donating fans, humidifiers, other material. And there's also just been individual help and care. So I wanted to say that. I wanted to express gratitude and recognize the road crew, Keith and the entire team. Lots of sleepless nights, and we've got more people to thank for sleepless nights, particularly at the outset, but then, just really dug deep and, I'm not being as eloquent as they deserve, but it was unerring, it was with care and deliberation and just a smartness in terms of reflecting priority, what's feasible when, an immense attention to detail with respect to people who were stranded and understanding the best way to get them all out, to get them connected, and to support the other organizations that I'll also mention. And, very, very impressive all around. So I wanted to say that, thank you. Other organizations, the fire department and our EMT folks, there was not much sleep happening those first few nights. And, when I got a call at 4 a.m, I knew that was the last call, right? This had been going on. Just again, good spirit, good attitude, just can do. I know that's kind of pat. It was much more of a layered approach, open to leadership from any source. Lots of connection, enormous communication, organic, and as well as regulated. A large group of people, all interested, listening carefully, and contributing. So every member of the fire department and everyone who was there. So I want some individuals. Sarah really was, to say she was inundated. I mean, I know that's kind of like a flood reference, so it's kind of not funny, but she was just under siege for especially those first few days. Again, just sort of focusing on that initial response. And she did not let anyone fall through the cracks. She is always a detail-oriented person, but sometimes when you're under those circumstances, it's easy to lose that ground. Not once. And she asked for help when she needed it. She accepted it graciously and just performed at a higher level. So I want to personally thank Sarah, and I know everyone in this town thanks her as well. Karen, who does have an official town position as a lister, and her unofficial town position as basically the person who knows everyone and every location in town, and so was indispensable at every meeting, because we would all be like, who is the person who lives on the third house on the corner? And Karen would say, it's Joe Smith. She always had the name and knew who could reach whomever needed to be reached. She was integral to that effort of designing how we got word out to everyone, and it worked. And so then, thanks to every person who did the door knocking, from Brian Xerox to Greg Jolly. If I'm forgetting names, I'm gonna leave it up to the crowd here to add those names. A lot of bike riding, walking, hiking, then it was cars, and it was really, we had a round 2, which none of us wanted, but we did it. And everyone who I've just mentioned was just really, there was just no resistance. It was just, and it was constant. It was every day, communicating and updating. And everyone who I've just mentioned, Mike was on, the poor guy trying to take his vacation, pitching, if he couldn't be there in person, he was on the phone and he was keeping track and, making sure that once we got through the emergency piece and we had to go into the recovery piece, he had, taken those, all of that information in to create the asset we need to get the recovery that we will desperately need from FEMA and other sources. So many others to thank, so I'm gonna ask, who have I forgotten or who have I failed to mention, and just to really say thank you to everyone. It was an amazing effort.
Greg, I bugged him because I didn't want to bug Keith, so I begged him a lot more than I
Right,
normally do.
huge, yes, as our road commissioner extraordinaire, agreed.
Thank you. And thank everybody.
I would say the contractors that were in the rivers.
Thank you,
Wes
thank
Everton,
you. Wesley,
A.S. Clark,
A.S. Clark, Hunter's teams.
Hunter Excavations.
Yes, also just ready, willing, and able, and elegant in their execution.
Rescuing.
Rescuing, yes, so EMT, I glommed them into EMT,
Yeah.
but they were huge.
Yeah. And then Paul and the EMD.
Paul.
During the,
Jen and Ed.
Jen and Ed. Jen is Paul's number 2 in EMD, and Ed just as Ed. Calling, texting, making sure the right people were on the text chain in the meeting room. Always, he's self-deprecating. He'll say, I'm being a pain, but he's ideating and he's coming up with solutions in the moment. And we're all planning to do kind of a get-together where we look at all those suggestions and others that were made throughout the course and implement those as part of our response to the new normal. Thank you. Who else should we call out individually?
West River Provisions, Forest and Tara.
Forest and Tara, the heirs to Karen's role and that in the center of town, constant communication, deep care, and they suffered themselves in the center of Londonderry under harrowing circumstances and conditions. Thank you.
You mentioned the road crew, but Keith in particular, you mentioned that the contractors worked wonderfully, eloquently, but it doesn't happen without that leadership.
Here.
So thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Round of applause. Okay.
Thank you guys.
To the team.
Really?
To the team. Thank
That's
you.
been great.
Yes. We have we're lucky that we have I wish Andy were here. Andy was also texting, always, out there, out and about, checking out, reporting back in. And to everyone who sent in reports of what they saw, huge help. That's never a bother. So if there's a message that comes out of that, everyone's eyes, ears, and messaging was it just really lifted up the response in a way that can't be minimized. So anyway, thank you again to everyone who was just mentioned. Okay, now the South Hill paving, we have the one bid. Are we opening the one bid?
We can, but I was just thinking, it came in via email.
I got it right here.
Okay, you wanna read it? No,
I
okay.
gotta open it first.
Oh.
I haven't opened it. I've left it in my email. I'm good
So
about this.
I can talk a little bit behind it. I mean, this year we put out to bid Southfield Road which on the Wardsboro side, about 0.8 of a mile. Our initial RFP was to mill the road down and then re-top coat it or whatever, not re-top, but more like on inspection, when they were coming out to put the bids together, it was determined that there wasn't enough surface material to mill down. So we withdrew that RFP and submitted another one. Which was basically just to put a top coat over what's there now, patch and fill the holes, kind of level up the gaps and stuff. We have actually replaced was it 10 culverts or 8? 10 culverts, just some of them really needed it, but also others were just to make sure that they were all upgraded and good condition underneath the new pavement. So they all have box headers on them, concrete headers on them, so it's in good shape. But we are now anticipating opening a bid to surface it, and there may be some concern about timing, but once we look at this and determine if we're going to accept
Just
it.
printing it out.
Okay. If we determine we're going to accept it, then we'll have to see about timing, because I'm sure there's quite a few paving projects around town in the area.
I didn't understand it, so I printed it for you.
Oh, great. See if I understand it. So basically, they quote it based on the amount of tons needed, and they do that by the thickness and the width and the length of the road. And so this is somewhat, they have to come in and guesstimate where there's going to be deeper holes and ruts and scoring and whatever else. So the bid here, an estimated quantity of 1,850 tons of pavement, basically. I mean, it's a standard that we've asked for that meets our road standards. At $97 a ton, and I don't have my calculator here, but whatever that number is.
So,
$97, is that right? Am I reading this right, Keith? You probably, I think it's, unit bid price 97 for
Yeah.
estimated quantity, for $97 a ton.
okay,
This seems
times
inexpensive, no?
That's about right.
1850.
Yeah, okay. 1850 for a number of tons, $97 a ton.
It's $180,000.
$180,000. So
That's a lot of tar.
that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of, that's
So
a lot.
we had set aside
Plan.
$200,000 in our budget,
Right.
but we've also eaten up,
Right.
30,000 was it for the culverts or 20?
For the pre-work.
For basically installing the culverts. So we're over now. I don't know if we wanted to mull this over more, but
So, well, at
we're
least,
gonna push our budget. I think we're
Right.
maybe a little bit concerned about pushing road budgets right now.
right,
We have talked about that the possibility that it can wait till next summer. The road's gonna be, it's already in rough shape, and now it's got 10 culvert swaths across.
at least,
Yeah.
right.
So are we,
We open,
we've
Right.
only received this one
One
bid this
bid.
time.
right, but if we wanted to go ahead, if we weren't in the midst of recovering from a storm,
Right.
we would be within the procurement policy to accept it.
Right.
So why don't I'll make a resolution to accept it, and then we'll open it up for discussion. And maybe we make a modified resolution if we do something different. So, I resolve to accept the only bid, submitted, with respect to the South Hill paving project. I have a second. Okay, discussion.
And I forgot to mention, it is Fuller Sand and Gravel. Not that has an issue on it, but a respectable company, so
Right.
there's no issues there, but I just put that out there for the record.
Okay. Keith, do you want to share thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's poor timing, that's all. I mean, I was guessing that that's what it would be,
Okay.
but I wasn't anticipating there'd be a flood the same year.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case, you could, the worst spots, maybe where the culverts have been replaced, we could just get O'Brien's to cover those for the winter. There were 10 strips that were dug out, just so there's a surface for the plow to ride on, so. Because the pavement that was there was so thin that if the edge of the plow catches it,
Pick it up.
yeah, or you break the plow, or you rip off another 50 feet of blacktop before you get stopped.
And there's no harm in doing that for sure. One, it'll strengthen it for the winter, but secondly, it's gonna be material that will be then needed next spring
Right.
anyways to
Right.
fill those spots.
Sure.
And we would do that ourselves, or we would, oh, you said O'Brien.
Yeah.
We could rescope this and put it out.
Right, I think we
again.
need to, I hate to do that, but I think we have to do another bid, a modified bid.
And I
Okay.
mean, the worst spots, you could have O'Brien's, you know where there's wheel tracks in it?
Mhm.
We could have O'Brien's just do a shim coat, you know, in the worst places. You're in, I don't know what it would cost, but say you're in $20,000 and it gets you through to next year. You accept a similar bid. That extra tonnage is just gonna make the project go farther.
Mhm.
It might not stop, but it might go another,
Or we'll use less time.
500 feet. It might work that way. Or if you do enough shimming this year, all you have to do is top coat next year. So you could split it in half, do $75,000 this year, and just top coat it next year, after July 1st or something.
It'll survive the winter.
Yeah.
That sounds very
Something to
reasonable.
think about, right.
Given the state we're in right now. I mean, I think given no flooding and no damage, I would be comfortable accepting this, that it's, the total culvert paving would run over by 10 or 15%, and I think that would be something we'd have to live with. But right now, I don't think that we can live with any overages.
So I think we're gonna vote.
And given what he said about, anything that gets put done and worked on this year is only gonna help toward next year, and it will help us push the budget out and also help us get through the winter.
Okay, so I'm gonna call a vote, we're probably gonna say no. So,
Motion's on the
all
table.
those in favor of accepting the bid? All those not in favor? Aye.
I
Okay.
oppose.
So with that, it fails. Instead, I'll now make a resolution that we modify the proposal to shim the parts of to issue an RFP as quickly as possible to just cover about a dozen or less than a dozen areas.
Yeah. Have to go there with a tape.
We'd have to go and look at it probably.
Right. So let's just scope it out and issue a new RFP
We
for that one.
don't need a resolution for that, so we,
No, I'm just,
But we
I've structured it as a resolution, I'm sorry.
Right.
We'll go
we can go
instead
research
and
it
we'll,
and then
right.
turn it back to Mike to
Yeah.
redraft for the third time.
Your time's charm. Okay, any other discussion on that? I think we're clear, okay. The new truck. We put off the discussion at the last meeting, to sort of refocus it. What do you
So,
like you have
yeah,
some,
Keith had reached out to 2 vendors that basically I think there's a total of 3, but one is usually out of the ballpark, so to speak.
Well, one of those vendors sells a particular brand that meets our specs, but they're not even close. It's like Ford, Chevrolet, Cadillac, it jumps up in price just based on product name
Yeah, and so these, I think our intention was to share these, but basically right now, you might know them off the back of your head. I mean, this is a long product list of what we generally get on our trucks, and we, you know, the specs for them, and that in order I don't know what the right word is again, when we roll, I mean, basically we've got a number of trucks, and every 10 years we figure they got a 10-year life, and we just kind of keep cycling. So now is the time to put this out there, because they're anywhere from maybe 6 months, but more likely 8 to 10 to 12 months lead time to get the truck, and then to rebuild, or not rebuild, but build it out to what we need as far as the dump body and the plow fittings and whatever. So this was just kind of to get the ball going. Is there pricing in here, do you know?
There's a final number, it might be on the very first page.
Okay. So the one here is deliveries, and they're out of Hoosick. They carry international. They their prices on the front. Don't see a price on theirs.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, whatever you want. Includes. I'm not seeing it. Maybe we're missing it. I don't see any dollars on it at all.
Nothing, yeah, that's fine.
And I guess the other part of this, and what we were thinking last time, is Keith's put the work into getting these rolling, but we're not, whether it's this week or next week, or, you know, we're still looking at, this truck would be not for this coming winter, it would be delivered next summer.
Yeah, next summer, fall, it would be complete, would be quick.
But a year from now, that's
year
not more than a year from now.
Right, a year from now.
Right.
So it would not be the truck that we'd be using this winter to plow.
Right, but we would want it for the.
So we want to start going. So this second one is Western Star, from ATG Patriot. Their price is $130,030. $30.
100, say it again?
$130 and $30.
Okay.
That must be for the radio.
That's, you know, less a trade, less our trade.
Oh, okay.
That has not been determined yet until, I think the delivery bid, maybe it's missing a page or something,
Yeah.
but they were 128 and they had given a price of 18 in trade. So
Oh, so it's lower. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have given their trade price already. I haven't had him come to give a trade price from Western Star yet.
Okay. Were you surprised by that valuation for the trade? Or did that?
No, they're, when they get them back from towns, they're not worth much.
Because they're 10 years old and.
And the bodies are typically pretty rusted, like a farm would buy it to have around the farm.
Okay.
It's not something that anyone would
Used
repurchase.
commercially.
Right.
So I think one is that, so we don't have a trade value for the second one? Or,
For the
for
higher
Western
one.
Star, you said there is a trade value.
There is, he hasn't come to do the trade yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they've always been a little more generous than international in trades.
Okay.
So do we want to wait, one to get the, well, I guess, I mean, to know the trade value, I think is gonna be somewhat important, because they're so close. I
Yep,
mean, they're only $2,000 away, if the trade value is
my
5,000.
intention was to call him a couple weeks ago, but
That went down the river.
Right. But do you agree, Keith, that we should act on this, not wait too much?
yeah, because you're a year One guy says 6 months, and the other guy says definitely a year.
Which means a year or 18 months.
But it will turn into 18 months, because once you have the truck, it's probably 3 to 6 months to get it
Get it
equipped.
outfitted. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and each one of these dealerships, they only have a certain amount of slots. They can't just get endless amounts of trucks. They get a certain amount of slots for like town type trucks that are spec'd in this fashion. So I think like delivery gets like 30 trucks. So I may call him and he says, I don't have any trucks this year. I ran out of slots.
Mm.
The other guy, apparently he has more slots because they have more locations, and the other locations trade him the town truck slots,
Yeah.
and he trades away his trailer truck spots. So he has more. That's a game.
Horse trading. So should we put it on the agenda for 2 weeks from now? Do you think you'll have an opportunity to
Yeah.
refine it?
I'll get. I mean, he may give it just to me verbally over the phone. I mean,
As long as, just jot it down. If I think a verbal is fine for purposes of our approval. I'll follow up with a written
Right.
confirmation. And then just also, I haven't looked at them, but to the extent there's like a payment plan, we just need to know that, what money they expect when, kind of thing.
Right, if we need to prepay something, it typically
Right.
has come out of our capital.
The capital, still.
But we still need to know how much, if we need to drop it all now, or
Yeah.
50%.
Yeah,
or
if the
whatever.
town needs to borrow from the
Yeah,
capital, then,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I mean, you can finance it for almost nothing, municipal loans. That's what we did with the excavator. The finance rate was like nothing, 0.07.
Maybe another option when we're looking for.
less than a point, really?
Yeah, I mean, the machine was $100,000, and she, once a year, they had $25,000 payment, and
Well, we would have to finance if it was
it
less
was
than
fairly painless.
100 basis points, yeah.
It's just that as you start replacing some of these, they're gonna start overlapping payments where
Right.
25 is now 50 because you just replaced this.
Right. Which is fine, but it's, why would we spend money that's making more money than
Oh,
it's
yeah.
costing
Right.
and a carrying cost, so, yeah, absolutely. Good point.
And I don't know the program, I think that it's run by the state. I don't know it, I know Terry, she did it.
All right, Michael, help us at least get ahead of that.
State procurement, probably? Is it-
Could be,
Okay.
could be.
We'll
And
check.
there's probably she kept her files, so we could also root through the files to see what she did the last time around for the excavator. And we'll have a treasurer soon. That's what. It's not funny.
This was, it's a little funny now.
No, our, Dawn lives in Londonderry.
Ludlow.
Ludlow, excuse me, not Londonderry,
Oh.
Ludlow, even worse. And thank you. They suffered pretty significant damage, so the time that she was gonna have, the little bit of time she was taking off in between the two jobs, so she's gonna start part-time next week instead of this week.
She's not starting this week?
No,
I thought she was starting Thursday.
Oh, no, Monday, Tuesday, I think it's Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I'll get back to you. So, yeah, it's just all around. So anyway, but that'll be among definitely the first things, but if we could start before she comes. I think it's general knowledge, right? All right, so I'll put it on the next meeting, but if in the next 2 weeks you're like, we're not getting the information we need, just let me know and I'll take it off and we'll push it off.
Okay.
We could always have a special meeting for it too.
Yeah, but, so if we have the amounts and then also the trade-in values on all the
Right.
different bids. Yeah.
Right. If they can do it for us.
Must not have printed a page for international.
Yeah.
Right?
It looked complete. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it should be there, it looks like this is the end, but it doesn't.
Right.
I thought it was just me.
We'll try again tomorrow.
Oh, too funny. Okay, discussion of the quotes for town hall. I was kind of hoping Andy would be here. Maybe we'll put it off until Andy's at the next
He didn't
meeting.
want to, I mean, he was pretty involved in the decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
I prefer to do it.
All right, I'm gonna defer that point to next meeting. All right. The new covered recycling dumpster, which we desperately need. Do we have a price on it?
We have a couple of quotes.
Yeah.
We do? We have more than one?
Well, there's two companies that kind of provide these,
Okay.
these domed dumpsters for recycling. There's Waste Quip, and then there's International Container. Both, if you do a 30-yard dumpster with the dome, it's right at $12,000 with the delivery here. They're pretty much the same. I think if we went with Waste Quip, they have a 40-yard one for another $1,000, so we might get more bang for
Right.
the buck going with a little bit the
But will it
40-yard.
fit in the slot?
We can double check on that.
Yeah.
I think it was, because I thought heard that the old one was a 39-yarder, but we'll double
Okay.
check on that.
Okay.
But they're pretty comparable, you know, going with either contractor.
Okay, all right.
And take, I think, a month or two to get here
All
for
right.
delivery. So, but it would be nice to have something before the weather changes.
Yes. I don't actually know if this needs a formal vote, but it's out of capital to buy the new.
I think it should have.
Actually, let's have a
Should
vote.
have a vote.
So,
I mean, it's a fairly large capital expenditure.
yes.
Man, definitely need.
Will the 40-yard one fit on the trailers that haul them out of here?
That's, we want to double check.
Yeah, yeah. No,
It's
you're,
something we couldn't empty.
great minds think alike, that's what. I
And
mean,
the prices are pretty
yeah.
much apples to apples, so we
Right,
get a
right.
little bit closer.
Right. So, I'll make a motion that, the town of Jamaica procure a new covered recycling dumpster. And that with the addition of a confirmation that the 40-yard dumpster would actually be, within the confines of our Casella, contract and, also fit on site. That we would go with that quote, but otherwise would accept the other quote.
Second.
Second. Oh, we got it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that would be International Container was the one that had.
That had the 40
had
yard.
the upgraded
Okay.
size, the larger size.
Yes, International Container.
Yeah,
So that would be our first
yes,
choice, yeah.
yeah. All right, any further discussion? If no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, unanimous, thank you.
Spray painted with a big Jamaica.
I know, right?
It's a
Don't
little
even-
lonely beacon there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
not that that's a
anywhere
sore
off of
point.
our lot.
Yeah. Okay, so I got, an email. Are you the source of the email? Yes. So, why don't I just turn it over to you? Please tell us your concern and what you would like, what you're thinking in terms of alleviating the blind spot.
Yeah, Jeff Dixon, I live at 64 Factory Street, and I lived there since 1974. So don't ask me why I haven't been here before making this request. The traffic has grown over the years, and the store has always been busy. But it only takes one vehicle parked in front of that store to block the vision of a bicyclist or a motorist exiting Factory Street onto Main Street from the east. It's
Even within, when you're parked there, you're doing this thing
Oh, yeah.
backing out.
Yeah,
You-
and the
right.
folks who run and own the store now, I was over there tonight, I took a picture of the truck out front, it happened to be his. Just so I could show you a picture if you want to see one. But he says they even go out and help people negotiate getting in back on the main street. They're not expensive. They cost from $50 to $300 or less, I mean, $200, $100. My thought was, if you could put a safety mirror on the pole, if it's possible, in front of Muzzy's store, right on that corner, it would show the traffic coming from the east. It might save a life someday, I know it'd make my life a lot more comfortable, because there are times when I or my wife or the other people who live there, Soshin and other people, come up that road and there'd be so many cars so well blocked, depending on the time of day, I'll turn the other direction, I'll turn right to be able to see in my side view mirror what's coming, and then I'll turn around. and
Right,
go
make a big
south.
circle at the bottom
Yeah,
of Pikes
yeah.
Falls, right.
It's kind of crazy, so,
Yeah, and the trucks coming through town don't slow down.
no, I mean, wasn't that long ago, I said in my email, it was 6:45 in the morning, I was on my way to work, I came up, there was a big red pickup right there on the corner, so I couldn't see the road. It looked as clear as it could, as you come up the hill, you can kind of see between the vehicles, maybe get some of the road. And I just pulled out slowly out the road, and some guy in a white pickup, barreling through town, blasted on his horn and slammed on his brakes and almost hit me. Of course, it was my fault. He was speeding through town. But my point is simple. It's a low-cost installment, and I'm not sure whether you can put something on that pole or not, but it's not going to cost a lot of money. It might save a life or something.
Right, right. It's really just a question of whether it's
If it's a power pole.
if it's a
needs
power
special
pole,
Permission,
right.
But
but we could always
they
put
may
our
give it to
own
you,
pole.
or we could
Right,
install a pole, or
right,
they
right.
may give you
Or they may
permission
give us
if
permission.
it's below
Yeah.
the height of the
Yeah.
wires.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a safety thing.
Can we build on that idea?
Build on that idea?
Yeah, a crosswalk right there, at least just mentally, to have.
Right, we have one on the other side of
There's
Pikes
one at either
Falls.
end, but
Right.
there's a lot of pedestrian traffic right across the street, right in front of the
That's
store.
something we could take up, I was, not
Yeah.
to say it's a bad idea, but I think it's another idea.
Yeah,
No, the add-on, like, the more we can do there, just to get people.
But I think they're two separate things.
Yes,
Because
yes.
the crosswalk would be reaching out to V-Trans.
yeah.
They're very, very open to traffic calming measures and things like that, and they do paint the other crosswalks on a regular basis. For some reason, I think we got missed.
We
We
missed.
got missed, we got
Yeah,
missed,
and
we
even with
did.
our line striping, because
Right.
they do paint the stripes on our class 2 roads, like on, like Pikes Falls and
Pike at the
stuff.
top,
So
right,
anyway,
the
so
base of
that's
Pikes Falls.
something, maybe I'll point it to Mike, but that's another aside.
Right,
I think it's a
right.
very good idea, but I
Right.
don't think we want to keep the resolution separate.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, so all those in favor of scoping out the addition of a traffic safety mirror on the southwest corner of the intersection of Pikes Falls and Route 30, either utilizing the existing utility pole or another pole if we don't get permission. Please, I resolve to approve, I resolve that we second, thank you, blah, blah, blah. Sarah, you'll take care of that, you'll make it more articulate, please.
Just cut it down to like 5
Yeah, to like
words.
5 words instead of 25. Any further discussion on that point?
Well, so
Oh, right.
would the mirror, would there be two, so you could see both ways, or just to see south? or-
My neighbor said, well, it can be just as bad the other direction.
Right.
I didn't want to overreach here.
Well, here's the thing, I think
If
when
you're doing
someone,
Yeah, Pikes Falls.
when someone comes, because we'll actually hire someone to recommend the size and shape and height,
Yeah.
they'll probably say, you should put one across the street. So I suspect there'll end up being two. I had exactly the same thought. I was like, what about on the
Right,
same
right,
side as
right.
Factory Street?
Both,
Right?
all
Yeah,
directions.
yeah. So I suspect, yeah, we would do that as well.
Well, I know you're talking about traffic coming down the mountain, but most of the time, people exiting from Pikes Falls Road onto Main Street have a view.
Yeah,
They have a view. There aren't a lot of cars parked in front of Muzzies. I call it Muzzies.
Right.
right.
Or the other way, The real blockage is when you've got a bunch of people at the store, or like I say, it only takes one vehicle
Right,
out in front of that store to keep
Right.
you from seeing
right.
east.
Look at the side.
I don't want to muddy the water here. I just want to make sure that I help you keep focused on that particular issue, the traffic flowing from the east through town
Right.
being a problem. Whatever else you want to do is fine.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe just pulling out, it's been blind the other direction for me. Do you know what I'm saying? Not just, Jimmy, pulling, if you're parked.
If you're
at the
parked at the store,
Yeah.
backing out into the road,
Yeah,
well, sure.
yeah, so it would help that as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To be across the street, to be on both sides, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so all those in favor of a traffic safety mirror, potentially two, at the intersection of Pikes Falls and Route 30, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, thank you. Thank you for bringing it,
Thank you.
all these years later.
And then my daughter, we got it this last month.
Oh,
When
really?
we were trying to pull out, and I couldn't see around the corner, she said, Dad, you're gonna kill us. They put a mirror over on that pole, and I said, you know what, that's a pretty good idea.
Well, can you thank your daughter on behalf of the
I will.
Selectboard of Jamaica? Okay, so Kate, are you gonna take on the next one?
Yes, which seems relatively unimportant compared with all this other stuff. So the Water Street Land Use Committee would like to make a proposal that we add a book box. And I'm going to read what Jackie Brown wrote. The Water Street Land Use Committee proposes temporarily providing a box of books and other educational materials on the site of the newly planted wildflower meadow. Reasons/background, foundation relations. The foundations that provided grants encouraged the committee to provide educational materials on site. The committee discussed signage but preferred something more in-depth and temporary. And Connor raised the idea as a benefit to the community, especially children, and to maintain a positive relationship with the grant funders. Second, educational value. The Jamaica Community Pollinator Project has incorporated nature education from the start with presentations at the Jamaica Village School, and there is continuing interest from both children and adults in learning about flowers and pollinators. Third, low impact. A book box with a roof similar to a little free library would shelter the books from the weather and eliminate the need for volunteers to be on site to distribute them, which could be disruptive. We anticipate that the occasional person borrowing books or other items will be low impact in terms of foot traffic. We initially conceived of it as a temporary structure, but changed our plans to make it a piece of furniture not attached to the ground with poles. The book box would sit on a table for the summer season. Project as voted on by the committee on May 31st, purchase or commission a little free library type book box with a roof. Consider kits available online or ask local woodworkers to help to maintain the community spirit of the project. The committee preferred to keep it local. Include educational books on wildflowers and pollinators for both children and adults. Include art books about how to draw or paint flowers to bring an artistic angle to the educational approach, which also helps with the grant funders. If feasible within the size of the box, include a magnifying glass and some art supplies. Items could be for loan or for children to keep and would be restocked as needed. The committee envisioned a roofed box on a pole that would come down at the end of the summer, i.e. temporary and seasonal, not a permanent structure. The box was built and donated by Ray Ballantine and Bruce Chapin, who graciously offered to build and donate it. They completed it in late June, and Ann Connor delivered it to the home of Jackie Brown and Tom Tolbert. Ray stated that while he would have liked to help dig, he and Bruce were delighted to be able to contribute to the project this way, and it was their gift to the community. No pole. The book box won't be mounted on a pole to reduce site impact. Therefore, it would need to sit on a table which the committee would purchase. This would make it even more temporary as nothing would go into the ground. Donated books. Ann Connor has offered to stock the book box as intended by the committee, largely through donations if the book box is approved. And I could read a little part from the minutes from the meeting if you would like.
Do you want to make a resolution?
I would like to resolve that the select board approve of the Jamaica Land Use Water, the Water Street Land Use Committee place a temporary book box that has been built by community members on the site for the summer season.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
That was very helpful. The explanation, very helpful. And did you know? Did you know about it?
Yeah, they've been working on it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm glad they're both in their 90s.
Yes, 93, right?
93 and 90,
Looks great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Years young.
And I wish I sent, I tried to send by email a photograph of it because if I printed it, it wouldn't show the adorable color. I think it's adorable.
Okay.
There was a little bit of feedback initially that was concerning, that people were concerned about the brightness of it,
Okay.
but that has been resolved.
Okay.
It's very cute.
I have a question, where will it be stored off-season?
In the shed that we now have use of, I imagine.
Any other discussion, community, board?
And the committee will have a plan for bringing it back out in the summer and then put it away in the winter and...
Presumably, we haven't seen quite as far as next year in terms of what we're even going to need to
Right.
do. I mean, certainly some weeding, some more planting. We're expecting some asters in the fall crop to arrive, so.
It could become maybe part of the library function eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
We can.
Is that what you were thinking, or, oh?
No.
Oh.
We can.
No,
Well, your
I'm-
relationship to the,
No, I was thinking it's, this is a town project, so when the committee moves on, who's
Right.
moving the
Let's
box
see.
around,
Right.
and managing it, taking care of it,
Let's
things
see.
like that. Just like the cemetery, everything
Thank
else
you,
is
Jeff.
responsible.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Jeff.
That's okay, don't worry. You were here through the rest of the meeting, so thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. And thank you, Kate, for representing as you have been. Okay, so we will review and approve the timesheets and sign them. Any questions about the timesheets? We can always look at them after, but no. All those in, I'll make a resolution to approve the timesheets. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the pay orders as well. All those, any questions on the pay orders? Sort of
That's
not,
all the flood ones separate, so
Right,
there's two.
right,
There's the regular,
right.
then there's the flood.
right. We can go ahead and approve, shall we? Okay, all those in favor of approving the pay orders, both categories, general and flood related, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. All right, so that takes us to public concerns. Please, Paul.
The select board, we talked about this several months ago, needs to appoint a second member to the Regional Emergency Management Committee. The EMD is an automatic member. So now your new EMD is an automatic member to it, but all the towns have been tasked by the state to provide two. So you all need to appoint a second person to the
I
organization.
thought that was Jen.
No.
Oh,
No, the automatic is the EMD. Then the select board selects from whoever to, as a second person.
What was it for?
The Regional Emergency Management Committee.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And it can be the assistant EMD.
Oh,
It doesn't have
okay.
to be, is that, I guess, right?
I know, I thought that was her role, but thank you.
Could be a third person, but it could be, I guess, right?
Right,
I'm just saying, the state requires two. One of which is automatically the EMD.
Okay.
The other one is appointed by the select.
okay. Thank you. I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
The next meeting is 8th of August, is that correct?
Sounds right.
Yeah, that's the next REMC meeting. The 8th.
Okay,
I'm just saying, that's when they need to be there.
right.
And if Jen is gonna have to do an awful lot with weather service and flooding and different kinds of mapping and stuff, so it's gonna be an important meeting.
Right. So if we have to, I'll call a special meeting, guys, we can even do it by Zoom.
Right, or email, or, yeah.
Yeah, or, yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. Okay, any other items, Karen, anything? I'm putting off cemetery stuff for a couple meetings,
I'm not even
okay?
bringing up.
No, but it can't, while the weather's good, we have to get everybody in, so. yeah, so I haven't forgotten you. Mike, yes.
The MERC program does have a mini grant for $4,000. Some of the other towns in the region are using that money for ADA compliance. To use MERC, the buildings need to be ADA compliant, so we could use the $4,000 to look at the library, in my opinion, and also the historic preservation building for ADA improvements.
So.
With this $4,000 allocation.
Right, do we not have a ramp to is the library not ADA compliant?
It is.
It is, but it's to look at really inside the building for ADA compliance, the
okay.
stairs and really the inner workings of the building.
Yeah,
And it's not, that ramp is, we actually have been suggested to tape it off, it's not.
oh, okay, great.
Usually a quarter inch per foot is ADA.
Okay,
So
it's
it's
just,
a two-story either.
oh, all right, so that's something to think about, okay. $4,000, I mean, it's like nothing, is that for a consultant or to actually do the work?
A consultant to come in and offer opinions. And that's why I thought it might be a good use of the money.
Right.
I've been trying to solicit interest in this, but seeing that other towns are using it for this consultant,
Right.
I have asked who these consultants may be, just so we could get somebody on board.
Right, well, we're doing work now to make the Memorial Library eligible for larger grant funding. So I could see the common sense to have someone come in, look at both the Historical Society and the Memorial Library, and then we would raise funds to conduct the work, okay. Do you wanna, I didn't resolve, do you want me to put it on the next meeting?
Yeah. that'd be
Okay,
great.
okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you for raising it. Yeah, tell Susan.
I do have something. At our historical foundation meeting, we discussed the fact that maybe we could have, and we've had a good band in the past, look at the roof and the slate roof, just to take care of a couple little things that may be a problem on the roof or could be a problem soon.
Right. Did we talk about that once already, or am I making that up? Okay.
A few years ago, he had
Okay.
come and looked at it and did a couple little patch things.
Okay, that's what I'm
But this
remembering.
was quite a few years ago.
Okay. Maybe it was when we were talking about the MOU, something
Okay.
that's ringing a bell. So what would you would like someone to come and evaluate, kind of an inspection?
Mhm.
I think we can, yeah.
And then he can tell us what might need to be done. If anything, but I'd rather
Be proactive.
be proactive, exactly.
That's for the bank though?
Yes. For the history
For the
museum.
historical.
But mainly inspection of the slate roof, is
Yes.
what you're saying? Okay. All right. Excellent,
And
excellent.
Ace is very good with slate, so.
Who is?
Ace is a good band.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, thank you. Any other items from the public? All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you, everyone.